Hey everyone, another typology interview. We have Flow State Taylor and Ryan, both ESTPs. We're going to be comparing today the difference between feminine and masculine SE. Taylor, do you know your OP type at all? Because I have in the description like just my guess of you.
Your guess has been basically confirmed by everybody I know.
Okay.
I guess the only thing is people aren't sure if I'm blast or sleep blast. I think those are the two that are up for debate, but I think that you got it right.
Right. So basically what it is you guys have the same animal setup. Ryan is just double feminine and you're double masculine. So we're going to see differences on the modalities is what we should expect to see at least.
By animal setup, you mean consume,
play, sleep, and then blast last.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. SE, maybe Taylor, do you want to get us rolling a little bit? Give us some direction what SE is?
Sure. Give me a push so I have some momentum to roll with.
Right. All right. So you were talking about how it saves you from delusions, how it's reality.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that my SE is very grounded in exactly what you said. It's the antithesis of aspirational to some extent. What is doesn't matter how I feel about it, doesn't matter how you feel about it. Right is right, real is real, and delusions or aspirations or hope, whatever you want doesn't really have a bearing on reality until you create that impact, which is still an SE action, but it's
right.
It's very much centered on what is and is not to a large degree.
Right. And then also something about current events, like what's going on in your life at the moment, like the immediate pressing issues as well.
What about that?
Like, is that also something that you see as SE, like just being aware of your immediate and pressing issues in the moment? Like, like right now, I guess you've moved already.
I mean, that sounds, I think that the awareness would be to an extent, but I think that my issues and immediate issues, that's more of a that's more of a TI thing, I think.
And what about like the state of the world around you and stuff like that? Like that plays into reality as well?
Right. It's I think the SE component there is assessing what is real.
Yeah.
Prioritizing, I think that I'd consider that more a TI thing.
Yeah. Cool. Ryan, do you identify with any of that description?
So I definitely identify with the feeling connected to reality and kind of, I mean, I try to pursue a correct perspective, not in like a TE way, I think, but kind of just like the best perspective. You know what I mean? Like it can be informed by something in the future that I can never obtain. And that would be, I think, masculine intuition is like something grounded I can hold on to, because like reality feels like I can't, like I'm good at picking it up and I'm good at reciting things to people I've read and talking about things and expanding on things or bringing up concepts and stuff. And it's always with ST proof. But it feels like I'm always just trying to explain something to people, like explain a perspective I could never explain to people with my SE.
Can you expand on that? What's the perspective that you're? Well, like, what's this perspective you can't explain?
Right. So I think he was.
Can you explain?
So, right. I think Taylor was talking about aspiration and stuff, which is a very interesting word, because like he was talking about actualizing it in the real world and like making it happen, and they're not real until you make them happen, right? So, for me, I feel like it was kind of like the opposite process. It feels very different from that, like an internal process on like visualizing my goal and seeing it visually, creating it in my mind, and then moving towards that with the ST world, like skills, functions to make it happen, to make the vision happen.
So it sounds like you're talking about something similar. Like, okay, so your goal and your vision, that's the NI, right? but then like
Yes.
the impact, making it happen is the SE. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. And it feels more real. Like SD feels like a chessboard. I can just move around to make the future happen. Like what I want.
Chronologically, where do things start?
ST. Like I mean, I'm connected to history. I mean, I understand like I'm existing in the now, like I study history. I study, I understand that time exists on a start to finish kind of thing in my mind, and I'm existing on it. And it like going back into my memory doesn't feel as real as like reading a book and being there with and imagining what someone's logic could be like as they're pursuing some kind of action. Like trying to understand what people's motivations seems more real than like my memory, like conceptualizing what their motivations are. And so when I go into my memory, I have to conceptualize what my motivations were to get to it. And that's exactly what I mean.
So like you're almost even more stuck in the now because of your bad memory to some extent.
I walk towards the future with certainty, and I can't help it. And I constantly reinform my perspective and change my path as that gets reinformed. If I want to change my plan, then I do.
I relate a lot to that.
Yeah. Do you want to say about that?
Mm-hmm.
I guess the interview question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? I hate that shit because there's been no point in my life where I would have guessed accurate. At no point in my life would I have actually ended up in 5 years where I would have said.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily make specific long-term goals. I probably should, but I have a general direction, and as long as I'm my life is flowing that way, yeah, I'll change courses in the moment. It's more like, it's not like playing chess. It's like playing pinball.
Why
makes
pinball?
A lot of sense.
Why pinball?
Because there's no long-term strategy. You're hitting the flippers in the moment. It's an instantaneous sort of response. Not, the direction you're going. You need to keep the ball alive, but you're not executing a series of steps that you pre-planned. You're responding to life in real time.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
So that lit you up a little bit, Ryan. Do you want to say why?
Yeah. No, that just that's an interesting way to look at it. That makes a lot of sense. Like you're performing a function like by it's like the same it's like the same goal in the future, but you're reacting to it coming at you, to get the result that you want, which makes a lot of sense. I can't
begin to guess what's going to happen 3 moves from now. I mean, I can begin to guess, but I'm not nearly so accurate as for that to really ever be what happens, nor so hubristic as to think that I'm going to get it right this time.
I was just going to say that's really humble to admit that sort of thing, like to be not hubristic. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, and I'm not. I think I look at the future with certainty, as if like the accurate prediction of the future is like a goal I need to solve, to avoid life struggles, to be better at ST, like I have to, like it doesn't matter how many times I fuck it up or screw it up, the goal or being uncertain, like I have to be certain to have the motivation, so I just forget about the thing if it doesn't mean anything to me anymore.
That's interesting. I picked up from that, like, okay, so you can fail but you'll get back up and keep going sort of thing, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely.
You feel
Yeah, I don't
comfortable
care.
with-
I don't care about failing.
Yeah.
I'll fall on my face as many times as I have to. I'll embarrass myself in front of people. You know, I'm the kind of guy to get knocked over 3 times and get up and just like kick
Keep
someone's
your eye on the
ass
ball.
just
Like
out of
keep your eye on the
I
goal sort
just
of thing.
exhausting them, just exhausting them, outworking them, just being tired on the floor and just resting for a second and just having the energy to just get back up and do it again until they can't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Do you identify with that?
I agree with that.
Yeah. So like you do have that goal, you do have that vision, but then like you know you'll struggle and fight to get there, and doesn't matter how many times you fail, you'll just keep pushing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's and the vision. I mean, it's still a direction, right? You're still moving in the direction that you've predetermined. But aside from that, for me, like anticipating what's going to happen is something I'm always trying to do, but I'm expecting not to do it. Ultimately, I expect to win through will, not through.
Yeah.
That's
so it's
interesting.
like preparing for the best, expecting the worst, like the opposite of the idiom. It's like preparing for the best, your goal, but just expecting the worst at every turn.
It doesn't feel that pessimistic, but to an extent, I mean, it's not wrong. It's just not that dismal of a feeling.
Yeah.
No, it's
I'm
practical.
Okay with
it. It's like
I'm pretty durable, so
okay.
it's not a problem, but to some extent, yeah.
I think I get pushed around in reality a lot, and so I have to find a way to win by messing with people's minds, like when I do anything, and it goes pretty well. Like I'm not like there's people who like scream and shit while they do basketball or something, and I'm not that kind of person. But like just thinking about how I could put myself in their perspective of trying to stop me and intentionally giving the wrong sensory cues is how I'm thinking about it. And so I'm kind of predicting what they're going to think by doing that. And so I find my will through that, and just by being quick enough to react to their mistake.
So like a lot of misdirection.
Yeah.
Do you do that as well, Taylor? Do you do the misdirection thing as well?
A lot, actually. One of my alt email addresses is classic misdirection. A lot. And something Ryan keeps bringing up is other people's perspectives, and that is something I am very attuned to, is other people's incentives. Almost first. It's almost first. Trying to figure out what somebody else wants out of a situation before I listen to anything they have to say or pay attention to what they're doing. I want to know what they're wanting.
It just feels like it's not that hard to tell.
It's not. It's really not.
It's not. It's not like.
I'm jealous.
It just feels like if you the more energy you put into that area, the more reward you're going to get back. I mean, of course, you have to attend to the real world and being better at sensory stuff and outperforming people, but I mean, it's just as meaningful to understand how to best use that information on that person or with that person.
I mean, I would say that is a fundamental part of the real world, because communication, words are words don't communicate truth. They communicate what I want you to think is the truth. So before you can even bother with somebody's words, you have to understand what they want in a situation. Then you have the context to place their words or actions into. But if you don't have that context, you're basically just swimming in the muck of whatever they provide you.
That's true.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, buddy.
That's very true.
So like you guys have been identifying a lot of similarities. I'm just wondering, where is the difference going to come in then? It's just the memory between the feminine SE, or are you noticing another subtle difference maybe between the two?
So there's a difference in. I don't think I'm really good at the sensory world, but I've never thought it was real. I understand it's just like any of my experiences feel like just as real as reading a book, and that's just kind of, I don't know, if everything feels dreamlike. And that's like, and it's not like intuitive. Like, that's why I used to think I was like some kind of NE or something, but I think it's just feminine OE in general. Perhaps, I don't know. But everything feels dreamlike. It's just really weird.
Yeah.
I don't think things feel dreamlike. I guess I don't know enough about the difference between feminine and masculine to know how to answer that question of when the differences set in. But I would say that things don't feel dreamlike to me.
So that's definitely a difference. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm just like, I don't know. We don't have to go on the theory and be like, okay, what's the difference between masculine and feminine? But like, we have two people in front of us right now that I think we can sort of talk out what the differences are in your cognition, and try to identify what the differences could be between masculine and feminine.
I mean, I think I do understand what you mean when you say things are dreamlike, and it seems like it's got a lot in common with, I can't remember what it's called, but it's sort of like a spiritual concept that you observe yourself to an extent.
Yeah, you're right. That's it's I have had a hard time putting that into words, but it's like you have an internal purpose that you have to fulfill, and fulfilling it changes constantly, but it's that drive that creates production. And if that's not happening, then it just feels like you're observing the world passing you by.
Yeah, what I'm getting from you, maybe I'm wrong, Ryan, is that maybe you're talking about being sort of like a passenger and waiting to act in life? Yeah. That's kind of the feeling? Like you're waiting for the requirement for you to actually do something, and you're just sort of drifting through your day until that time?
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, and it's my perception of time changes as I change my purpose. So, I mean, of course, people say, like, they talk about like, it's not like people talk about like a flow state, and they're just like, time starts moving faster and stuff like that. But like, I'll enter different periods of consciousness, like the way I can look at things in depth. Like, it's almost like, okay, this is really what it is. Okay, so most of the day, if you could imagine like you can imagine like a bunch of monkeys learning how to walk on a prairie, and most of the people are running around like really good at running around through the fucking fields on their like hands and legs, and they're going really quick, right? Most of the day I'm standing and looking around, and I don't want to go back on my hands and legs to move, but that's all I can do.
All right, that was really weird. I'm not sure I got that.
Okay, so it's like, if I'm not doing nothing, then I'm a drone. And if I am doing something, then I am not a drone. If I'm not doing anything, I'm not a drone. But if I'm acting with purpose, I am a drone.
So if you're not doing something, like not doing nothing,
I lose all respect.
Right. So like you feel like a drone unless you act. What you're saying?
Yeah, I mean,
the opposite.
No. I feel like the opposite. Like, I feel like a drone unless I don't act.
Like, your only way to interact is to engage in the same drone level that everyone else is.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably about right. I mean, there's.
What are you getting from this, Taylor?
Yeah.
I don't feel the same way, but I do understand what he's saying.
All right, so can you like translate for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what he's saying is like, so if you're observing, you're above the nitty gritty, right? Or you're detached, whatever. But then the only way to engage it forces you to get into the same groove as all the other monkeys.
Yep.
I think is what he's saying.
That's exactly right.
Right. And I understand that. I understand it when you say it, but I don't spend a lot of my time feeling that way.
Right.
So does that give you a little bit of a better idea of what feminine SE would be then, Taylor? In comparison to yourself?
It sounds like it's, I don't know how to separate out the feminine part from It sounds like he's got more NI than me, really. That's how I'd interpret it.
I have to ask really quick. Are you good with like animals and kids and cooking?
Cooking, yes. Okay, let's take it one by one. Cooking, yes. I am good at cooking. I don't do it very much. Animals, I'm really good with cats, and dogs are hit or miss.
Okay.
Do with that what you want. Kids like me, but I don't like all of them.
Okay. That's
Well,
I like
mine,
for kids.
the masculine sensories versus the feminine sensory SEs. People have always been throwing their kids at me like my whole life. They keep like since I was like 5 years old, 6 years old, like they want me to hold their kids, like, you know.
Yeah, adults don't do
lot.
that to me. Kids will find me, but adults don't do that with me.
Adults bring their children to me constantly. I don't know why. I guess I'm pretty good with them. I don't know. I'm nice to my siblings. Like
that could be more the feminine FE there, Ryan, as well, because you got the feminine FE going. Yeah.
I think that's probably right too. I communicate. I really understand the perspective of children. Like I communicate well with them.
So Taylor was saying that it looks like you might have just more NI. That's just what it appears like because of that sort of.
When he's talking about the observing or engaging like a monkey, just these different ways of explaining it. It sounds like he's working with more NI than me. I don't know what I don't know, but that's how if you and OP were out of this and we were just batting the ball back and forth, that's how I would interpret that. Is he's
that's what we're doing. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're batting the ball. Ryan, by the way, I think you're clicking a lot. Your sound's coming in.
Yeah, it's my. I was having my phone charged as. Let me go see if I can find some different headphones. Give me a second.
All right. So what do you think that means then? Put OP aside. Does that mean you think he might be more balanced or?
I think there's different subtypes. I don't think that he's an NI. I mean, I think that he's the same type as me.
Right.
But I think it would just manifest it. Like who knows? And in different systems, there's different. It could be feminine. It could be an Enneagram thing. It could be a different subtype. I mean, he's obviously doing more of observing life from a distance, and less engaging. And I'm sitting here screwing a screw into this shelf just because I need to do some SC shit while we talk.
Right. We can't hear you.
I find myself doing push-ups in public randomly. Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I heard you're doing push-ups in public randomly. There's a delay, that's all, between the video and the audio.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's coming in better now.
Yeah. I have it plugged in, but it's only at 10%.
Okay. So a good job being prepared, by the way, for the interview. Very SE job.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. It was no one does. But,
That's okay. It's okay. It's just pointing out the correlation to type. Yeah, no, it's fine.
I do like that this interview actually after like 5 weeks of trying to plan it, we just had to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so what about scheduling, Ryan? That's a good segue there. How are you with scheduling and keeping on track and knowing what you're supposed to be doing?
I don't.
That's it?
Maybe I'll write a note down and hope it comes back. Yeah, I hope I remember stuff, and I ask people to help me remember it. And
right.
Sometimes it happens, and sometimes it doesn't. But I feel like I don't seem to lose track. I mean, I do like get distracted and stuff, but I don't seem to forget what my purpose is during the day as much as other people. For as much as I forget, like what I should be doing.
Do you get that too, Taylor?
Ryan's still sounding really quiet to me.
Yeah.
I am bad at scheduling. First of all, I try to not do it. I avoid being scheduled at all costs by other people. When I do get scheduled for things like any family shit, I let Katie, my girlfriend, handle that.
Right.
I settle into routines, but if things are outside of the routine, I need to be reminded within 24 hours or I completely lose it. I'm not good at keeping a calendar. I mean, I've tried 1,000 times to keep a calendar or whatever, and I just end up not looking at it.
Yeah. But like, okay, what about in terms of memory and stuff? It doesn't sound like you're
My audio's
forgetting
not coming
things,
in for,
Brian.
for some reason.
Your audio is coming in now.
I can't hear anything.
Oh,
Yeah, we can hear you.
yeah, we can hear you.
Try refreshing.
Yeah, come
I
back.
would have to leave and come back.
Yeah. He heard us somehow. Lip reading.
So, yeah, Katie and I did a video about this a while back on my channel about memory.
Okay.
We both have fantastically poor memories. And I mean, this morning's breakfast blends into every other breakfast I've ever had in my entire life. I don't have much of a memory for things except for random weirdo shit that's, every now and then something just sticks in your memory for whatever reason. Or sometimes if I'm intending to remember something in the moment when it happens, then I can normally get myself to do that, but it's infrequent that I recognize at that point I need to remember this.
How old were you when you shot your first gun?
I don't know.
Do you remember it?
No, I know I got a BB gun when I was 9. I had shot a 22 before that, but I don't remember. I don't remember shooting it. I just remember that I had shot a gun.
All right, I assumed that you were older than 9, so yeah, it's harder to remember something like that. How old were you when you drank your first beer?
I was 9.
That was a BB gun beer day. All right.
BB gun beer day. And I didn't drink the whole thing because it was fucking warm.
Right.
But I do remember that. And I do remember that because my buddy Joe stole some Coors from his dad. And they were gross and warm. But we all did, the obligatory couple drinks and stuff. And I decided it was Budweiser. I decided that Budweiser is the fucking worst thing I'd ever had.
Uh-huh.
Now I like it.
Ryan, I want to know how old were you when you drank your first beer?
I was 11.
11? All right. Do you remember it? I'm just trying to get your memory. Yeah.
No. People tell me I smoke. People tell me I drank a beer when I was 11. I was at a wedding, I think.
Mm-hmm. What about how old were you when you shot your first gun?
I have not shot a gun.
Okay. Trying to gauge your memory. How old were you when you started working for your dad?
13 years old.
Yeah.
I think. I set up with him at my first show when I was 13. I started doing stuff by myself then. And less with him.
Yeah, it seems like your memory is comparable. Like,
I don't see anything. Like, it's just a list of facts. Like, I can't go back there.
Uh-huh. Can you go back there a bit?
To a few things. I can't at all to the gun question. I can to the beer one.
Right. Well, yeah, you were 9.
But you know what? I can only go back to the place. I can go back to the geographical location, not anything else really.
The experience, how it tasted. You said it was warm.
Yeah, it was warm. I know it was warm. Well, because I didn't like Budweiser until I was like 15 after that.
Right.
That's why I remember that. But no, I don't really, from the experience, I don't really remember anything except for where I was standing.
Yeah. Right.
And I remember that. I remember that very specifically.
Okay. Do you remember that kind of thing, Ryan? Like where you were standing, stuff like that?
Where I was standing. No.
Yeah.
I think if someone, like, I guess I can sort of remember like the wedding, but like someone would have to tell me whose wedding it was. Like, and then I can't remember. I don't have any. I could like the experience of the wedding feels separate from my memory. So to like conceptualize it or think about it or like go there, someone would have to talk about it, I think.
Yeah. When you ask this question, when I'm able to answer with an age, that feels like a different sort of memory than actually remembering the event. I don't remember events so much as that's just a fact I was able to spit off. Like when did the Revolutionary War happen? 1776. Do I remember that? Fuck no. I just know that that's the answer to the
Of course. Do I remember the Revolutionary War? That's a good comparison there.
Shit. I got toothpaste on my shirt. It looks fucked up. I'll put my coat back on.
So what you did there, do you identify with that, Ryan? Like being aware of the sensory like that to that extent? Did you not hear me?
Yeah, like I'm aware of like my memory and stuff.
No, I mean like how he had toothpaste on his shirt, that sort of thing. Are you aware of that kind of thing?
Oh, that thing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I pay attention to that stuff, like usually, but like I forget until I'm doing something. Like I'll like check my shirt and there won't be a stain, and then I'll look and there's a fucking stain, and it's not. It didn't happen. I was just wrong about when I looked. Like.
See, I knew that stain was there and I forgot about it.
Oh, you forgot about the stain, but you knew it was there.
Yeah.
You see, I'm not that good.
Not that good. So I don't get it.
I can't do that. I don't like.
You can't forget that the stain is there?
No, like why would I remember like a stain on a specific piece of clothing? Like you just look at those things before you put the shirt on.
Well, because I put the shirt on and then I brushed my teeth and I got the stain. And I noticed the stain when we were in the car because we went and got some chicken. And then I put my coat back on when I got out of the car so that I could carry it into the house in one walk. And I forgot all about it because I didn't even realize that I forgot about this until 3 minutes before I got here. Just everything. And then I took off my shirt and I saw that there. I was like, what the fuck is that? Oh, it's my toothpaste stain. It looks like jizz. It's fucked up.
That was like a perfect description in linear order of your day and the toothpaste stain. That was brilliant, Taylor.
I can't do that.
Yeah. Right. So like, let's talk about the NI a little bit then, okay? Because I think we sort of got down to the differences in the SE. So maybe Taylor, do you want to tell us a little bit about your difficulty with the NI, how you've been able to struggle and get better at it, the things that sort of hit you in the face when you're not paying attention to it?
Well, my whole life has basically been me getting hit in the face because I'm not paying attention to it. I don't know that I can answer that because I'm not that good with it. I'm told that I'm good with it for where it is in my stack by people, but I'm not, at the same time, I'm not sure if that means that I'm really good with it or if they're just like, you're fucking cute with your stupid ass function down there, It might be a little patronizing.
Well, no, okay. So I have seen this in the past that like SE DOMs will actually have really amazing NI just because they'll work their ass off to get it to that point where it's like, okay, you're not going to come to a conclusion about something until like you've done your research, you've gotten your facts down, and then finally you're going to get that conclusion. It's like, but once you get the conclusion, you know you've put in the work. Like chances are you're right about it. And so like that's kind of where I see SE DOMs with their NI. Whereas like the inverse NI DOMs, they'll fail with their NI. They don't care. Like,
yeah, I'm in an interview, Dad.
Yeah, and I think that is a correct assessment of it. I'm very cautious with sharing any NI conclusions I come to, unless I'm like dead ass sure it's going to happen.
Right. So like when you share those conclusions, what does it feel like? Why would you not share them? Like, is it painful? Is it weird to be wrong?
No, because I can't reference anything to support it really, without doing a dissertation.
Right.
And a lot of my NI conclusions are basically conspiracy theories. If you want to get straight down to it,
right.
Here's one. I think that one of these days, AI programming is going to get good enough that you know how David Icke and Alex Jones have been pushed off of platforms. I think one day we're going to wake up and that shit's going to be good enough that boom, just everything is gone. That's in that same vein. So there's one. Because I mean on my channel I've got 1 or 2 videos that sort of dabble around the edges of conspiracy theories. But I think that at some point when the little bots that run around leaving comments, great video, bro. I think at some point those are gonna get into groove, and a couple of my videos will be out, you know, and I think that we'll just see clearing house of the internet presence of that sort of stuff.
Okay, so like this conclusion that you've come to, it was really interesting what you said is that like you can't come to that conclusion unless you have a way to point at your evidence, sort of thing. Like you need enough evidence.
I mean, I can't. Yeah, I can't. If somebody disagrees with me, I have no way to really push my shit without taking them through a long discussion of how I came to this conclusion, and then they have to fall in sync with me throughout the whole step of the way. So ultimately, it's just an opinion. There's no oomph behind it.
Right, because like if they disagree with any one of those steps, then like, all right.
Then whatever. Then we're just stuck at not seeing things the same way.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Okay, Ryan, when you come to a conclusion with your NI and stuff, like how do you see your NI? Do you see it as something that you feel comfortable stating? Do you feel it's no. Can't hear you, buddy.
I generally don't like to say things or unless I've got like three different layers of ability to enforce it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I approach life at all. I generally don't do things or say things unless I've got the obvious way to enforce it as well as a backup or two. I always like to keep leverage up my sleeve, I guess, for lack of a better word. And you just don't have that when you're spouting off NI projections.
Right. And then, okay, so that's another thing I've been looking at. Okay, the integrity in the functions, right? So I can see how that would create an SE integrity with you, because like that way, if you say you saw something, people will likely believe you, because you're not lying about your observations and you're not like jumping to conclusions. Like, so there's like a certain amount of integrity with your SE in that realm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, if you were jumping to conclusions and spouting that kind of stuff all the time, then you would lose that kind of integrity. No? Would it feel like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And before it comes to how other people perceive my own integrity, I have to believe in the integrity of myself.
That's right. So, okay, that's really interesting. Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about your NI, how you come to a conclusion when you feel
comfortable? Yeah. You can hear me, right?
Yeah. No.
Okay, good. Yeah, I feel like I gather facts that feel somewhat disseparate and combine them to make a conclusion. And it's the accuracy of the process is usually based on how much I consumed and if I processed on that information well.
Mhm.
And so once I come to my conclusion, I'm usually pretty forceful with it as I present it to people. It means a lot to me.
Right. Okay, so that's like the masculine NI. Tell me something. What happens if you've come to that conclusion and you're forceful with it, and then someone presents you with a piece of evidence that sort of conflicts with it? Do you have an example of that?
I might be slow to adapt to the piece of evidence, but given a day or two, a couple days, I'll probably adapt to the piece of evidence. Well, if it's factual, based in reality.
Right. So you're still accountable. Like you're still accountable to the SE. Like the evidence still rules. And
Yeah,
still
it really matters. It just I'm
Right.
trying it because like how would the conclusion be right if I didn't collect the right information? Like
We have a compliment for you, for all of us. We're beautiful women.
I
Thanks,
know I'm a
Eric.
beautiful woman. I'm wearing leggings right now because that's what I do. I'm very strange.
So I have a question. If he's got feminine SE, does he necessarily have masculine NI, and vice
Right,
versa
yeah.
for me?
That's right. Yeah. So what you were seeing is he's forceful with the NI, like he's forceful with his conclusion, whereas you won't be as forceful. Like you
No.
won't push with it. Yeah. But so that same question, how quickly would you adapt to your conclusion being challenged by a piece of reality?
As quickly as I can scale the new information to see how much it impacts the rest. You know, because if you get a new chunk of information, I got to sort out its priority level and everything I've already got. But once I've got that sorted out, it's instant.
Yeah. So that's a contrast there then, like your adaptability of the NI. Like it seems like Ryan will still do it. It'll just take him a lot longer.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, from
Yeah,
what
I
you
think
guys
that's
are saying.
probably right. I think that's probably true. My conclusions are pretty firm because I feel like that's like I feel like if I didn't have the conclusion, like I wouldn't have a reason to go collect the information. It's like a constant cycle.
Yeah, I'm not confident in my own conclusions. Actually, most of the time, if I even present a conclusion beforehand, it's just a quick little comment, and then I wait until it's true to say, "Remember when I told you about that one?"
Right.
So I almost don't even present it until I can after the fact.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like to do things like picking stocks and stuff like that.
Oh man, my stocks took a dive this week.
Yeah, it's there's Brown has been crazy, man.
Yeah, and they went on I think it was closed the market Wednesday or Thursday. I went up like 700% and then instantly dove. I don't know. Wild.
It's crazy, man. You gotta. It's like poker.
I do, and I've just started playing in the stock market, and I've got like $200 invested in it. And I treat it just like I would treat going to a casino. You know, I only put in what I can afford to lose, and then I expect to lose it.
Yeah. We have some like professional trolling going on here right now, like tons of comments here. Thanks, Eric. Thanks for coming. Okay, so back to this, so what Ryan was saying is that like, so if he didn't have that conclusion, then he would have nothing. Like he has nothing other than the conclusion at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yep.
No, I don't feel the same way about that.
Right. Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
It almost seems like the difference between masculine and feminine NI is stronger than the difference between the SE.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So I think I mentioned like to Binyamin in the last interview. I'm trying to remember. I think I might have said something like feminine SE is like seems more similar to masculine NI than masculine SE does to feminine NI, just in general. If you're just comparing them objectively or whatever, like what they do. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but
that was a conclusion. Do you want to tell us like what like, can you like elaborate on it a bit?
Can I elaborate on it? Yeah. Okay. So it feels like masculine sensory takes reality very seriously, and feminine intuition takes intuition not as seriously still, you know? So masculine sensory is like a real strong punch, even from someone who's like feminine and I like my brother. And the intuitive femininity is he's not even confident in it. Like I walk over his intuition.
He's an NI-dom?
Yeah, and he's NI dominant. I just, he's not confident in it either. But he's masculine sensory. He's punchy. But what I was comparing them is that when you have feminine sensory and you're not taking the sensory world seriously, and you're taking the intuitive world seriously, like it feels like you're collecting open-ended information for a single conclusion rather than looking at a single conclusion that is the real world or a set of single conclusions and looking at a disseparate amount of results, so they feel more like it feels like there's a greater rift between masculine sensory and feminine intuition, just in my eyes. I don't know. Like it's as they get.
I get what you're saying. Okay, yeah. So like you feel like because you have sensory dominant, but it's feminine. Mm-hmm. You're more balanced, or I guess closer together. They're closer together.
Yeah, I feel like I don't. Like it's my savior, but I don't trust it. It's my savior, but I don't push with it. You know what I mean? And so when I'm swinging over to my demon, there's still some amount of confidence. So I might not be. I really get like I'm not good at SE in situations, but I might be. It's very strange. Like the feminine SE versus masculine SE. I think when it comes to like very physical things, like I feel so out of my element with masculine sensory people in situations.
Do you have something on that, Taylor, a little bit?
If I understand it correctly, I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean,
it seems structurally illogical to me, because I see I see all intuition and the conclusions thereof as fundamentally guesses, right? That's what it is. So okay. I don't know. I don't understand, just from a logic standpoint, how you can have faith in guesses that are built around flimsier observations.
Okay. I think the sensory world is based on human accounts. So, and I think that my sensory perspective is one of those accounts. So how could I possibly trust that more than a conclusion that I've come up with as an intelligent being?
So you think that your sensory perception is subject to the same bias?
Yes, as everybody else's.
And I think that I've got more faith in my sensory ability to be able to, of course, everything is always biased, but I think that if there's anything that can reduce that intrinsic bias, it is my sensory.
Yeah, I completely disagree. Like that's crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing to clarify any kind of sensory bias would be to, like, I'd have to collect enough sensory information to actually find out what's going on. Like, if I just looked at what was going on and made guesses off of that, I would be way wrong. But if I looked at a perspective about what was happening and narrowed it down to a single conclusion, then I could have a disseparate amount of information to draw to prove one thing or to inform one perspective.
Well, yes. I mean, maybe look at it this way. I think, okay, if we just assume that each perspective has its own bias, I think that my approach eliminates confirmation bias.
Okay.
That's what it gets rid of.
Yeah. There's a huge thing of confirmation bias there. Yep. Masculine NI has a lot of tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Did you find that as well, Ryan?
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get locked in. Like when someone like I'm really agreeable and kind and nice usually, but I feel like there's like an alternate state, and that's where the masculinity comes in, and it's tunnel vision that I can't access until I've really been stepped on and pushed around, and it's just the vision goes dark, and it's just from the heart of that is where I have no memory. It's like the smallest, tiniest little memory moments is when those happen. Like I have a conceptualization of when I lose control, but I can never remember when it happens.
So to jump back to your example of watching monkeys do stuff, I feel like actually I observe if I put myself in that situation, which again I don't feel like that is accurate of how I am most of the time at all. But if I put myself back in those shoes, I observe through SE.
Okay.
I also engage through it. So I don't know how that would work, but I don't feel like when I'm a detached observer of my own reality, I don't feel like that is most achieved through NI. I think it's most achieved through SE.
I feel like when I stand up, like do the thing, like when I stop the hustle of running around on the ground, like and working hard and like get away from the situation, it feels like I'm standing up and I'm seeing so many more obvious things. Like maybe I was down on the ground and I'm standing up and I realize I've been running in the wrong direction for 15 minutes or an hour or something, and it's exactly like, so I have to stand up to figure out if I've been running in the wrong direction.
I think Taylor identifies with that too a little bit.
Yeah, I do. I spend so much time running around in directions. I don't even realize I'm running around in directions most of the time.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think the main difference that we've pinned down on the SE side of things is like a little bit more of a dissociation on Ryan's side. Is that a good summary?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and then on the NI side, I guess a little more certainty on Ryan's side.
Yeah,
but you're still both accountable and have integrity with the SE. Like,
yeah,
the SE is still quote unquote God for you guys. Yeah,
that's certainly true for me.
Yeah,
because for me, it's like in that analogy, it's not about like, it's about the obvious things I might see. So of course I have to stand up, because if I don't stand up, I'll be embarrassed, like, because I won't see what was obvious.
Do you feel like your NI, or do you feel like your SE is in service of your NI?
Yeah, I don't feel like it serves my SE. Like my SE feels like it's for something. It's not even for me. It's just a tool. Like I don't.
Because I feel like my NI is like a random ass byproduct of SE. It's not in service of it.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe random ass byproduct is a strong way of phrasing that, but it's certainly not.
No. I get it. It makes a lot of sense. Like it's just, it's weird that like all the motivation could come from desire from the real world or connection to the real world. Like I feel like it just doesn't feel like something that could happen, like in my mind. Like the way that things get done in my mind is like some some goal or vision that's set, that is you're attached to strong enough, and that's the way anything gets done, through sensory. but it's not about reality. It's about like some objective that needs to be fulfilled. But it's not even
Well,
it's an
I guess,
abstract objective. It really
I
is.
guess Taylor was saying the same thing with like the pinball analogy, where like there is a goal. Like SE is serving some kind of goal, right?
Right.
Am I getting that right? Yeah. So it's not like there's a complete difference there.
Yeah, it's not devoid of goals or objectives.
Right.
It might be, you might be able to say that it's lacking in clear conclusions, maybe, because there, and I'm working this out as I say it. There's not a conclusion I need to arrive at.
Okay.
There are lots of different conclusions that could be equally good or could open up in the moment.
Right. Yeah. So you're not shooting before you look, sort of thing. You're making the conclusions based on what is real, like what you see around you. And I guess, Ryan, you're doing the same thing. Like this is like SE above NI. You're making the conclusions based on reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're not like making a conclusion then trying to
fill in some information or anything. No.
Right. Yeah. So you're still not completely in that confirmation bias zone. Yeah.
Yeah. But so my conclusions are necessarily a byproduct of my observation.
Okay.
They're absolutely dependent on what I perceive to be around me in reality. It doesn't work. A conclusion isn't pulling forward reality in that direction so much as it's assessing the best, it's putting a bullseye on your reality. So that bullseye is going to constantly move around as reality shifts.
Yeah, it's dependent on reality. Yeah.
I feel like I'm looking at like the spectrum of reality and the spectrum of outcomes and like just saying, oh, that thing's probably going to happen because I saw 4 or 5 things that usually lead to stuff like
that. That's useful. Yeah. That will keep you out of jail.
I see what you did there.
All right, awesome, guys. Thanks a lot for coming out. We're running out of time, but I hope you guys got a little bit of a comparison, at least, of maybe what's feminine versus masculine SE could be.
Yeah, I think so.
I did. Yeah. It was interesting.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks for coming out.